morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Falana. Hope you had a great weekend. It was a turbulent one in the sense that you remember that on Friday, as we were, on the program, and we don't do weekends, so this is the very next day. We showed you pictures of Omoyele Sowore in court, and it seemed like a disorderly scene. As soon as we went off air, we were then to understand the full extent of the story. Since then, between Saturday and Sunday, we've had all sorts of statements. We've had statements from the presidency, we've had statements from DSS. Indeed, there's been a statement from his lead lawyer, Mr. Falana, SAN, and not to mention legal luminaries and the general public at large. Well, we have Mr. Falana with us here. Want to thank you very much, Mr. Falana. You've really spent the morning in TVC. You were first of all on our sister program, then you've been on the news, and here you are now. And thank you very much. I understand that you really are squeezing it in because you have so many meetings to attend to. Thank you very much for that, because I did appeal passionately that our viewers need to hear it directly from you. Now, let me just start from the real controversy. DSS men allegedly entering the courtroom and effecting an arrest without a warrant. That was what everybody was grabbing onto. But the DSS has since issued a statement saying that they were law-abiding people. They respected the court, respected the judge, and would not do a thing like that. Even said that when you had alerted that you thought something might happen, that the judge had said that, no, they won't do that there, the decent and law-abiding people. So if they say they didn't do it, but you were in court, tell me what happened, sir.
You see, in any civilized society, an agency of the government must accept responsibility for its actions because they cannot be infallible. Once the DA or whatever you call it,
DSS.
State Security Service, aka DSS, makes a mistake, the officers must be humble to accept and apologize to Nigerians. But by insulting our collective intelligence, in using the machinery of the state to lie, is unacceptable. And this is not the first time. There was a time they wanted to burn Ganifa Emin's house in the 90s. And they said he was the one who wanted to set his own house on fire. They wanted to kill Alose Ogugbaja. They said he wanted to bomb himself. So we are used to this, what I call bicycle story. But in this instance, the officer who addressed the press from the SSS wasn't in court. Garba Shehu carefully did not address what happened in court. Because the presidency cannot be seen to be privy to a lie, an official lie. In this case, if you look at the self-contradictory statement of the State Security Service, in the first place, have they explained to Nigerians why they were in court on that day? One, on the 5th of December, the court in anger had ordered the State Security Service to comply with its own order within 24 hours. They hadn't done so for 1 month. And for the 1 month, the SSS told lies 4 times. One, nobody came up to receive Sowore and Bakari. Secondly, when we now send people there, they tear gas them, including journalists who witnessed the occasion. Thirdly, they said if we release him, a vehicle might knock him down on the road. Fourthly, they said we didn't bring the shorties. And I asked, how dare you? Shorties of the court? For you to approve shorties that the court had verified and had signed a release. So I'm just telling you a litany of lies. The State Security Service has no business in court on that day. Because on the 6th, only the 2 lawyers were to report compliance with the order of the court. So They haven't explained what they were doing in court on that.
DSS says that it was trailing Sowore following his release, that he had gone to a venue, I think it was one of the big hotels, and had continued what they interpreted as calling for revolution.
That is another lie. I book a room for both of them so that I could monitor them. And for security reasons, in Transcorp Hotel in Abuja. Of course, I know the plate numbers of the two vehicles that are stationed in that hotel to monitor them. And the only discussion, the only meeting we had that day was in respect of their case and to brief them of developments when they were in detention. And to now ask them, wake up on time, we are going to drive to the court tomorrow together. And we did.
Okay.
So when you now say, oh, they were holding meetings or whatever, some other,
you don't buy
statement. Okay. What do? It's not to take the law into your hand. The State Security Service must understand that we're operating a democracy that requires that all governmental actions be subject to the law. Assuming without conceding that the two gentlemen held any meeting contrary to the order of the court, it is not for the SSS to take the law into his hands. What should be done is to alert your lawyers so that the lawyer would tell the court and the court will revoke the bail. But nothing like that happened. They know. Now that morning,
yes,
while I was when the court was about to sit, I got information. Because when I was coming to the court, the government brought sponsored demonstrators against Sowore, against the freedom granted by the court. So I was already alerted that there was going to be trouble. And when I got to the court, I got information they wanted to arrest. And I said it publicly, and their lawyer denied.
Okay.
And at the time they were making this arrest, I called the lawyer. Come, this is what is going on. He disappeared.
But yeah, the lawyer himself
disappeared. Yes. So when, contrary to what they were saying, Sowore had not even left the well of the court when they seized him. And the court was on number 2. Our case was number 1. The court was on the second case. And the court proceedings were disrupted. The judge had to leave her seat, and there was problem all over the place. The SSS officials took over the court.
They took over the court?
Yes.
Because you were saying somewhere in the statement that I read from you last night that the SSS had apologized to the court.
Yeah, what happened was that the judge couldn't just believe what happened. And she had to summon us. My learned colleague had already left the court, Dr. Hassan Liman, SCN, and the court asked the clerk to call him on phone, and he came. Both of us saw his lord, her ladyship, and she expressed her dismay at the unfortunate development. My colleague expressed regret, and that he was never privy to it.
Okay. And
that's to the occupation of the court.
Yes. And the DSS attitude, the team leader.
Now asked the man, go and call the team leader. The team leader came, I have his name, and he apologized profusely for the invasion. And the court ordered him, go and remove your men from my court.
And he complied.
And when I was already going, of course, Sowore was inside the court. And what anybody would think, in any civilized society, is that nothing will happen until the business of the day was over in the court. But I felt, with what I have seen in court, the physical brutalization, I needed to take control. And I quickly called a meeting of the defense counsel, my colleagues, and we agreed that I had to take him to the office. Okay. So that there won't be any story that he was trying to escape on the road and
something happened. There was an accident. So, you decided, because you weren't sure that everything was on the level, that I would go and deliver Sowore to DSS.
Of course.
Which you did.
Of course. But before I go, assuming without considering that Sowore's supporters stigmatized and they penned him down, manhandled him, subjected him to such horrendous brutalization.
Because that was the DSS claim, that there was no DSS man among them.
And you want to arrest him. Right? And you knew of this stage managing. And the man was pressed down, pinned down. And he was likely to die So did you want to arrest a dead body?
Mr. Falana, why did the SSS say that it is no more interested in Olawale Bakare?
I don't know for them, but they told me they wanted him.
Aha.
So will I have been so sufficiently stupid to say, come and arrest my client? He said, even though I promised to bring him. For what purpose? You can see the lie. You know?
Where does the case now stand in terms? Because I know that the NBA is also very angry about this.
No,
In
anybody
fact,
will be.
The NBA has asked that
Everybody is angry.
the president dismiss the DG of DSS.
Of course, because when this happened, and this is not the first time.
You said so.
In 2016, the National Assembly was crudely taken over by massmen from the State Security Service. And the acting president then, Professor Yemi Oshibajo, had to take the right decision by firing the then DG of SSS, Mr. Daura.
That's right.
Because nobody can justify that in any democratic society. And we do not expect anything less in this instance. So that is why the position of the NBA cannot be fought.
Now, where is the case now? Because according to earlier releases that I'd read, the case had, before any of this drama, been adjourned to February. But I'm now hearing that you want to be in court,
You see,
this week.
You see, contrary to the campaign unleashed on Sowore yesterday by Mr. Garba Shehu, who is a senior journalist, and you know he's unprofessional, to be running a commentary on a man who is not in a position to reply you, because you must hear the other side.
Okay.
But that's what happened yesterday.
That's the statement that Garba Shehu released.
Secondly, the presidency of a country like Nigeria cannot subject a citizen to media trial. If you have your case, you must go to court. These guys, the government filed this charge on the 20th of September. The court granted accelerated hearing, believing that this is a very serious charge, so that these two gentlemen will know their fate. What has happened? The case was fixed for definite hearing, 5th and 6th of December. Okay. We got to the court. The prosecution, the statements of the prosecution witnesses that the court ordered them to make available to us were not available. For which reason, they pleaded for adjournment to February next year. And the court invoked Section 296 of the Administration of Criminal Justice Act and penalized the lawyer, asked the lawyer to pay 100,000 naira from his pocket so that it can be serious next time. So, and then when you have abandoned your case, you are now running a commentary. But the most fundamental question that people are not asking is this. By Friday, and I challenged the SSN, and Sowore was asking them, can you give me a warrant of arrest?
If I was going to come to that.
None. When we got to the State Security Service headquarters, I asked them, there is a court that has released these two gentlemen. Where is your order to detain Sowore? None. Where is your order to arrest him? None. So every action taken on Friday was illegal in every material particular.
Now, the action is legal, as you've just explained, but does the DSS or any such body have the right to rearrest, as we saw in this case? Just released on bail, less than 24 hours later, you're rearrested again.
No, it's a mockery of the legal system.
I was going to be asking.
It's a mockery of the legal system. And it is a way of telling the court you are wrong. Even if you give your order, we are going to rearrest. It happened in the case of Dasuki. Dasuki was released by the Kuje Correctional Center. As he was stepping out of the center, he was rearrested. 5 courts, municipal and regional courts, have ordered the government to release Dasuki. They haven't released him. And I'm sure you are aware of Zaki and many others.
Yeah.
They won't release them.
Oh,
and that's what they have told this judge. How dare you to disagree with us? That was why they invaded the court. It was to make a point. And this is not the first time. And as I did say yesterday, the Honorable Justice Dingba gave an order that one certain Commodore Mohammed be released. Not only did they disobey the order, they try to rope in the judge to a corruption case. I'm telling you.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
yes.
As bad as that. So on this week when you will be in court, what exactly, now that the case is the way it is, what will you be seeking to come away with?
Well, since he has been arrested illegally,
Okay.
we are going back to court to challenge his arrest, right? And all the shenanigans.
Okay. Okay.
And then demand for his release.
Before the same Justice Ojukwu?
Not necessarily.
Okay, not necessarily.
Not
Okay.
necessarily.
Okay. So,
But we just want to make the point that no matter how high you may be in Nigeria, nobody is above the law. In the words of Lord Denny.
and I think that's a fine place to leave it. Mr.
Thank you
Falana.
very much.
I want to thank you very much for making time for us.
My pleasure.
So we'll take a break now. Stay with us, please. We'll continue with the program right after this. Indeed, for joining us if you've just arrived. And Mr. Femi Falana, SAN, lead the counsel in the case, in government's case against Sowore, the treasonable felony charge, has just left. That is after sharing with us some of the insights. We'll continue with that theme, and we've now been joined by another experienced lawyer, Dr. Fasi Yusuf, who is a lawyer and communications expert. Thanks as always, Fasi, for coming on. And
interesting times indeed.
Interesting times indeed. We've heard it from Mr. Falana, but as even Mr. Falana himself said when he was here, he had noted Garba Shehu, presidential spokesman's statement, and also the SSS, which he didn't think very much of. But between the two of them, in fact, Garba's statement was captioned between the truth and falsehood or something like that. But that's the general idea. And the SSS has said that the public needs to be careful, that there are people trying to whip up sentiment, trying to just, play on sentiment, and that none of the things that allegedly happened actually happened. It's just trying to give the DSS a bad name, that they are a law-abiding society, and so on and so forth. You probably read it yourself. Your comments, please.
Well, I think basically this is something further than the legal perspective. They're also talking about the public relations perspective. For the nation, for the presidency, and by extension, the Directorate of, or the State Security Service, also known as Directorate of State Service. I think they've been clever by half. They've not told the whole truth. And that the public relations officer of SSS perhaps is not schooled in public relations to the extent that he will understand the dynamics of public relations and the need to communicate effectively. And when you are communicating, you expect a response. You expect a response. But what sort of response have they been receiving? To my mind, the response must have been negative, because the whole scenario did not portray a well-articulated viewpoint. Because in the first instance, the Secret Service should not be easily known to people around, unless those that are familiar with them, those that operate with them. But if you go back and look at any of the videos, they were mentioning the name of a particular guy in court as an SSS operative. And from his conduct, he was holding on to his service pistol, because that would have been very dangerous if it had been snatched from him. And again, if you call yourself a secret service, must you expose your identity with the marksmen around in court? And for God's sake, the court is a sacred institution.
Don't forget that the SSS is saying that it wasn't in court,
But
that
it-
it arrested Sowore outside the court's premises.
Agreed. But within the precinct
Okay.
of the court.
Okay.
Not inside the courtroom, but within the precinct of the court, and that is still within the territorial jurisdiction of the court. As SSS, you know where to get him. You know where to trail him to. If you could say to us, to the whole world, that the previous night he was holding meetings and all the rest,
Yes.
the same thing will also make you to be able to trail him to wherever he's going. So not within. What they did that day was the desecration of the temple of justice. It's, in our own parlance, devilish, unacceptable, unbelievable, incredible, and nonsensical. On the other hand, the spokesman to the president,
Garibashew.
yeah, he was speaking from a jaundiced position. And therefore, people will have little regard for his disposition, because he must answer to his paymaster. And to my mind, that is what we say. There's a lot of difference between journalism and public relations. As a teacher of mass communication, there's a lot of difference between journalism and public relations. So even as a writer, you need to be objective. You don't need to take sides. And he's not a spokesman for the SSS. And beside that, he must know that whatever the SSS does affect the image of the presidency and by extension the image of this country. Already, we are having the backlash. America has issued a statement condemning what we did. If other nations decide to do all that and we become a pariah state, then all our ease of doing business, all our claim to democracy and all the rest will be rubbished. And that's very sad.
You know, this case, there was even something written over the weekend that a government probably had even had some sort of an approach to Mr. Sowore, named a few, media people, and that they were actually shocked when that leaked and it was actually reported upon. So when you look at that they had allegedly tried to make an approach, you then begin, and then following that being revealed and published, what happened. Okay, what happened actually went and happened. You begin to wonder how complex this case is, or if indeed it is complex. Were they looking for some sort of a settlement? But before you answer that, let me bring in Tokwe, who has called in from Bauchi. Did I get that right? Hello, Tokwe.
Hello.
Okay. Good morning. Thank you very much for calling in.
Good morning. All these things they are talking about Sowore or no Sowore. Only God knows what is happening, whether DSS did it or not. Even Falana, we don't know who is saying the truth among the lawyers. We are confused. We don't know what is wrong. But I believe the Buhari regime, they are sensible enough to know what to do. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tokwe. Might I just remind you that Falana is Sowore's lawyer, and so he would arguably know most about the case than anybody else. The fact about whether he was truthful or not, well, I can't comment on that.
But,
It's neither here nor
what
there.
we are analyzing the situation. You see, public perception is about most things the government does. It is pretty difficult for you to superintend over your own activities. And that is why we have the doctrine of separation of power. The executive, the legislature, the judicial or judiciary, and the fourth estate of the realm, and the people. And government owes its power on behalf of the people. Without the people, there's no government. And there could be people without government. And if you remember what Thomas Jefferson said, that if you were given the opportunity to choose a government without the press, or a press without the government, that he would not hesitate to choose a press without the government. So the press is out there to mirror the society, to tell the world what is happening, and to uphold democracy.
Indeed.
And to hold government accountable to the people according to the constitution.
Exactly. Now,
So where government decides to do things that are not palatable, that are not acceptable to the public, then that government is attracting criticism of the people.
okay. Caller in Osun State. Good morning, sir.
Morning.
Thank you for calling. Go ahead, please.
Yes, I'm worried. Most of the time when we Nigeria issue, people are bringing America. America is not no rule of law. Rule of law. If you in America, support. You have to.
I'm afraid the line isn't very good, caller. It's so very difficult to hear you,
Decipher what you're saying.
to decipher what you're saying. We can hear sound, but I'm so sorry. It's a game line. I'm so sorry about that. Garba Shehu, in his statement, I'm just following from what you've just said about the responsibility of government to conduct itself in a certain way. Garba Shehu, in his statement, the presidential spokesman had said that the DSS don't necessarily need the presidency's or the president's permission in every case. And I think sort of alluding to the fact that we don't know anything about this. They're doing their constitutional duty, although he did add comments, which Femi Falana criticized, but they're doing their duty, and he was implying that has nothing whatsoever to do with government, and that was why he was speaking up.
But Garba Shehu, as a colleague, as a younger colleague, must understand that the action and inaction of anybody in government affects the image of this government, and by extension, the image of the president himself. So that is why. And they should also be able, anybody working with the president must understand his body language. Is he likely to appreciate what you are doing? Is what you are doing likely to affect his personality or his image? Is what you are doing likely to affect the totality of this administration or what it stands for? So to say that, I think it's insulting our intelligence. Unless he doesn't know more than that. Okay. If he knows more than that, he should appreciate that anybody working for the president must understand his body language and must appreciate that whatever he does is likely to have a backlash.
Indeed.
And therefore must be circumspect.
Pius in Kaduna, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Thank you for calling in.
Thank you. See, in this country, we have to get things right. We must stop doing the wrong things and accept a good result. What happened in the courts that very day or that dreadful day is totally wrong. DSS, they are at fault. And the presidency must take a decisive decision. The kind of the decision that we saw when Yemi Osinbajo was acting against Daura when they invaded National Assembly. Because there is not anything that somebody will come out and justify that action that very day. That action was wrong. You are equating or trying to correlate that action with Boko Haram together with IPOB. It is wrong. What is correlation? Correlation is the tendency of two variables to relate indefinitely. How can you relate? I don't see how the issue of Sowore and Boko Haram and IPOB relate here. Sowore did not take any arm. Boko Haram killed, destroyed. And now, yes, they are granted amnesty. Or some of them were forgiven and they were united with their own family. And we are seeing it. And up to this moment, we are not seeing any DSS going to arrest them or trying to just do the same treatment or give the same treatment that they have given to Sowore now. So, please, the presidency should do the needful. No Nigeria is more Nigeria than another Nigeria. This is my own submission this morning. Good morning, Nigerians.
Thank you very much, Pius. Thank you for calling in. As I said, my read of the statement, and by the way, Garba Shehu's statement and the statement of the DSS, if you saw it, uncannily similar. In fact, there were those who were joking that might this not be from the same script that was taken. Maybe Garba wrote the script and shared it, maybe not, but that was just, even if you want, maybe irresponsible speculation. Garba Shehu spoke, the DSS spoke. It's just that somehow everything that the DSS said, Garba actually re-echoed, in his statement, and it was all about. It's not a small charge, and Sowore is not an ordinary person. He has a platform from which he speaks to millions. He has a publication. So people should not just be swayed by sentiment. And he wanted to distance the presidency, I would imagine.
It's not possible. The president...
Because he was making the point that DSS doesn't need to check with it.
The president should have felt embarrassed by the action. But instead of defending the action and the irresponsible behavior of SSS, the presidency should have taken a decisive action.
No, I don't think he defended the DSS. I think was it Femi Falana who was saying he was careful in his phrasing. In this case too, he didn't actually defend, but he did say.
What I'm saying is that,
okay,
look, I agreed. You see,
he wasn't critical. He wasn't critical of the DSS.
You can't charge anybody for anything. But is it lovable? Is it acceptable? Does it make any sense to the other man out there?
Okay.
What you are saying, or the charge you are pressing, and all the rest? Yes, Sowore was alleged to have inscribed some certain things, to have said it, to have said that, and all the rest. What is the weight of what he said? How acceptable?
This is what reasonable, right-thinking members of society must evaluate.
Is Sowore capable of causing an insurrection and all the rest? But in any case, let us not engage in any trial outside the courtroom. But the point we're making is this, that there are more than fundamental issues to be handled by State Security Service than going after a small fry. Okay. They are making a hero out of Sowore.
Okay. Femi in Surulere. Good morning, sir.
Hello.
Hello. Thank you. Thank you. Good morning, sir.
Good morning to you.
Thank you.
The way I see this is not on fire. It is the judiciary that is on fire today, now. And the judiciary have abdicated their responsibility as a trustee of government to perform their function. It will get to a stage when the judiciary receives a judgment that the election of president is nullified and the opposition is defeated, and the executive will say no, because we are still giving one by one. When the water level was being removed, we had a constitutional solution for the removal of the teachers. It was never followed. This was because at the given judgment, not followed by the executive. If we get to a stage, by the time when they give another judgment, I will become commission in the country. So, if I were the chief judge, I would close all the courts in the country, make the federal government to make substantial judgment of the court, or I will open the court again. Because if they are pressing away with their back right, the judiciary is pressing away with their back right, and it will come back to hurt them. Thank you.
Thank you very much for calling in. I had a bit of a difficulty because I was expecting this man to let me make it less loud, so I couldn't hear. This is the whole problem.
I couldn't decode.
It was too loud.
No,
the volume was too high.
It wasn't difficult for me to decode.
Yeah, that's a big problem. I hope we can sort of sort that out. I was expecting my brother here to just turn down the speaker a bit, so maybe we would have heard. But I suppose he also was joining in saying that it didn't appear that it was kosher what happened and the way DSS conducted itself, even though DSS said that it's lies. And you have said that it's left for people to
interpret,
to form that judgment.
Opinion.
But when you look at the charge, the charge of treasonable felony, you've said that running after a small fry like Sowore, but the charge shows that he's not a small fry as far as government is concerned. But nevertheless,
not necessarily. It's just because it is in the criminal code. If you do anything or if you act in a certain manner that is likely to cause insurrection, that is likely to cause disaffection, that is likely to bring government down, you'll be charged for treasonable felony.
okay, one moment, please. Good morning, Mr. George.
Good morning, Uncle Yori. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you very well.
Very clear.
Uncle Yori, you should have kindly allowed Mr. Falana to stay back and take some questions. Because he just said his own and went. Mr. Falana is one lawyer that is highly respected in Nigeria. After Gani Fawehinmi, it is Falana that people know. But I am personally disturbed the way he's going about this case. Is he defending Sowore because of the fee they will pay him off for the principles he stands for in this country? Sowore crossed the red line. Gani Fawehinmi will never defend a person that crossed the red line. That's the difference between principles and making money. He is saying that so and so has been done to Sowore. We seem to be addressing effects rather than the cause. Somebody contested an election as a presidential candidate. When he failed to win, he went about inciting the society, making pronouncements that he's going to overthrow the government of the day because he did not win. And we saw protests in different parts of the country. We saw pictures where he met with a fugitive, organized, the IPOB man, meeting with him. And after that, we have seen where government officials are being attacked anywhere they go in the world. And you want, if they are staying in government, would you wait and allow them to carry guns and be shooting people before you do something? What is more treasonable than that? So what we are saying is that, is this the first time DSS were to arrest or rearrest suspects in court premises?
As Mr. Falana himself observed.
Yes. Is this the first time? This is not the first time. It has been happening. Do we know the number of dossiers that the DSS has about this gentleman? And Uncle Yori, in fairness to DSS, I would also like you to invite their spokesperson to come and give their own side of the story, so that we don't start addressing
the DSS, unless anything has changed, the DSS doesn't respond to invitations to come on air.
Well, if they don't, there is a way. We have heard them before speaking, because we need to also hear their own side of the story. I am not personally carried away by the sentiments that are being addressed instead of addressing the issue.
Okay. You no doubt, Mr. George, you no doubt saw the DSS statement that was issued for what it is worth. You might not.
Yes.
You saw the statement where essentially they were saying that things were being, these emotions and sentiments. Yes.
Yes. And it is true, Uncle Yodu, from what I can see, from where I sit. We are talking about sentiments of the form of arrest. We saw the video itself. The man ran into the courtroom. He was not being arrested inside the court. He ran into the courtroom and his supporters started shielding him. It was not the DSS people that were pressing him down. It was his own supporters that were, in an attempt to shield him, that were pressing him down. What are we fools?
Okay.
American government that is coming to issue condemnation. What is happening in their country is worse than what is happening. They should leave us alone and face their problems with their Trump.
Okay. All right. Good morning. Thank you very much, Mr. George. And then let me just say, I hear you when you say that, look, Mr. Falana spent, a little over 15 minutes with us. He wasn't even supposed to spend any time with us at all.
He was hijacked.
Quite frankly, that's what I did do. I did, quote unquote, hijack him. I was joking with him that I had done a judicial kidnapping of him. He was only supposed to be on one program, and then as happens, another program grabbed him. Me, I came along. I grabbed him as well. And so he had actually promised just 5 minutes. Falana will answer anybody's questions, but we had to agree that he was keeping a lot of people waiting for being with us, just sorting that out. Now, to the body of judges' submission,
yes,
he sees it totally differently from what a lot of people are saying. In fact, it's like He's not about to throw out the DSS version.
Well, you see, in communication, I'm not talking law now. You see, you are in a position to make any meaning out of any message sent to you. Now we are communicating. So we cannot impose our views on anybody. Apart from the fact that we are in a democratic environment, the fact that if I send a message to you through the right channel, you're able to decode it. You must make a meaning out of it, either positive or negative. So the point we're making is this. He has made his own point. But I, as an analyst, it's for me to say what I can decipher or what I can interpret from the happenings. The point we're saying is this. As I said, this is a secret service.
Yes.
The secret service has no business exposing its identity to the whole world. Now, some of them were in hood, some of them were masked, some of them were wearing DSS camouflage, some of them, and all that. Why should they do that?
Okay.
And in any case, why must it be within the court precinct to arrest? Yes, the SSS was planning its own. You also expect Sowore, being an intelligent guy, to also have his own strategy. Either to bring SSS to shame, or to be able to portray SSS in bad light. So Sowore ran into the court. And his followers followed him. And from the account of what somebody was shouting somebody's name, I don't want to mention the name.
Yeah.
And SSS guys, it means they know him very well. So if SSS is going to do his job, why would they send somebody that is known? Is that the way to operate a secret service? Why must it be within the court precinct? Why not outside?
Okay.
How many entrances?
Indeed.
Or how many seats?
Oh, okay. When we get to court, probably, I'm sure this matter will come up. Mr. Ayeni in Sowore, good morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning, Uncle Yori.
Good morning, sir.
And good morning to Daddy Fassi there.
Okay.
Yeah, please, I just want to ask a question. Is it possible for just one DSS official to enter into a courtroom and effect an arrest of somebody like Sowore? Because I saw just one guy that wears suit dragging Sowore down that day inside the courtroom there. We didn't really, and DSS is now saying they didn't know anything about what happened inside the courtroom, that it was the Sowore's people that are, dragging him down. That's just my question, because we don't really know who is saying the truth or not.
All right.
So that's just my question.
How I wish you'd been able to ask this question when Mr. Falana was here, because he was there.
We should be able to interpret from what we saw, from what we had. You see, what happened was that Sowore's case was the first case. And then I explained the court could not go ahead with the trial. And the matter was adjourned to February. So Sowore and his supporters were outside the courtroom, just by the foyer, and granting an interview to the media. And all of a sudden,
which was an offense according to DSS?
To grant interview?
Yes.
For
Sowore to continue to be consistent on part of the reason he's facing this charge.
But should he be arrested there? That is one of the things their lawyers will tell the court, that his bail should be revoked because he's transgressing part of the conditions for the bail that was granted to him. So Sowore now being an activist and his boys are not there. They ran to inside the courtroom saying, they want to kill me, they want to kill me. Of course, there was pandemonium. So instead of those guys retreating to strategize, of course, those who were wearing their uniform could not come inside. It was only that guy in blue suit, that came in. And of course, they recognized him and they were mentioning his name. So they should not have allowed that. They should have, the strategy should have been better planned and better executed. It's a secret service, for God's sake.
Well,
even at the point of death, a security service guy should not disclose his identity.
Okay. Jessica in Abuja, good morning.
Morning.
Thank you for calling in. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, this Mr. Sowore case. Sorry, I want to ask. In this case, the DSS have right to arrest someone in the court?
No.
Good. And if, I don't know, is that how they arrest someone when they want to arrest someone? Do they press him down to arrest him? Or they arrest him in a proper way? Is it an terrorism?
There are conditions.
Good, thank God there's condition. But in this, in his case now, the DSS, for me, I didn't see they don't have any right of arresting him in that kind of way. Okay. And why can't they, the president is seeing all these things and he's not saying anything, and the whole world are seeing?
The president, the president might not have seen.
Jessica, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you very much. This is what you wanted to contribute. Is there more?
I think we
Yes,
just listen to the response.
Let's not talk about it. Thank you very much. You can hang up now. Thank you very much.
Right, number one, people should not be arrested in a way depicting the arrest of an animal, or the way you behave in a banana republic, or when life was brutish. Human beings must be given the decency they deserve. So, pressing somebody down in the court premises ought not to occur at all. Okay. But where you are going to arrest somebody, unless that person is making it difficult or is trying to resist arrest, or you believe that it's going to harm you, that's when you can exercise some force.
Yes. Reasonable force.
Reasonable force.
The law calls it reasonable force.
Thank you.
You can't blow a guy's head off.
But as I said, the precinct of a court, including the courtroom, is taken to be a temple of justice. Okay. And you cannot desecrate the temple of justice. There was
desecration. Because I was going to point out, just as you've done so, that without prejudice to the facts of this case, and in answer to Jessica's question, one has learned that actually the police or any restraining authority or whatever, they do have the right to apply reasonable force. Should there be
the need for it?
The need for it, like what is the word now? Resisting.
Resistance
or refusal to be arrested.
Trying to harm.
Yes, but that's why I said without prejudice to this case. I'm not even talking about this case, but in terms of what these law enforcement agencies do, if you won't come along nicely, then sorry, you come along one way or the other, forcefully, that kind of a thing. This reminds me of former Abia governor and Senator, the chief whip, who had said that don't put handcuffs. I will follow you.
I will follow you.
I will
and
follow
they allowed
you.
him.
And they allowed him because they were seeing that this one was not real.
Because ordinarily, what would have been wrong in handcuffing him? Other people were handcuffed.
Okay. Mr. Carlo in Idimu, good morning, sir.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Thank you for calling in.
We love what people are doing because it's only the way we can change some of these ugly habits we're having in this country, Nigeria. I think if the leaders or the rulership of the country is interested in this shame we're having, they should take interest in investigating that incident and identify all the actors so that we know what the truth is. Whether there was a DSS involved in coming to the court or it was a state-managed issue. Nigeria should be interested. People should be accountable. And it's only in doing this that you have a nation that people will respect. I saw the news or the interview or the news is granted by the American senator talking about Nigeria. We should move away from this, consistent putting ourselves to ridicule in this country. And so the leadership should be interested, our leadership should be interested in this, so that we have a standard that other people will look at and emulate. So let's continue to put it at their doorstep that will demand accountability for the actions people are taking in course of leading us in this country. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kalu, for calling in. There's a sense in which presidential spokesman Garba Shehu's statement attest to the fact that they are aware. In fact, he said that he was constrained to write because people were getting it wrong. And part of the effect of the statement was to set things right. No. And that the presidency doesn't, in fact, by making the point that the DSS doesn't have to check with the presidency in each and every instance of performing their constitutionally, stated roles, that's how I think it was implying that we just saw it ourselves and they're doing their work.
Well, the point to be made is this. In public relations, is the totality of your operations that you must look into.
Because each aspect communicates something.
Each aspect not only communicates something, is capable of derailing your image or affecting the well-being of the organization. And therefore, the president might not be aware, but it affects the president. The president might not have even watched the news, might not have even been privy. As president, he will not have the time to go through all the newspapers, watch televisions and all the rest. Maybe we'll be talking about state matters and all the rest.
But they give all the professional communicators have to be careful is what you're saying.
They brief him all the time and all the rest. So if anything is going to affect the image of the president, the image of the country, the image of our democracy, and the totality of our country, I think we must be circumspect.
Okay. Thank you very much, Chief Dr. Fassi Yusuf, giving us your perspective on this whole matter. It'll be sorted soon, but it has really set tongues wagging.
We need to be circumspect, and we need to look at
we as a society,
as a society, as a government, as a people, and the presidency itself, because the image of this country matters. If the image is bad and everybody's condemning us, you cannot say you are right.
I hear you.
And to affect the business of this country.
We'll leave it there. Thank you very much for coming on. Dr. Fassi Yusuf, lawyer and communications expert. And so that brings our program to the end. Thanks to Femi Falana, SAN again, who really he had one leg in his car before I managed to persuade him to give us a few minutes. So thanks to him. And he was explaining to us.
He took my time.
Yeah, and he ate into your time. But, that's our program today. Please join us tomorrow for a fresh edition. I am Yori Falani. Bye-bye for now.